Hi Ricky, let's start by taking a look at your butterfly. First thing we want to focus on is going to be the head position. This right here is an ideal head position. You've got the water cutting your head in half and your eyes are looking straight down towards the bottom. As you go into the stroke and the rest of the pull, you can see that the head starts to change. You're just now beginning your pull and separating the hands, and the eyes have already started to lift up. As you go into the next part of the pull here, the head is going to come up and break the surface, and you're going to go into your breath. As you go to breathe, you do want to think about staying nice and low in the water. You do a good job of just sort of lifting that chin forward and keeping it close to the surface of the water, but underneath the water it's important to preserve the body position to make sure your feet and hips aren't sinking down underneath you. You do want to leave your body back behind you. So one of the easiest ways to make this happen is to create a separation between the head and the rest of the body. Backing up a little bit here, your head is going to be its own piece, going to be responsible for steering yourself going forward. You're going to keep your eyes looking down and keep that head completely still, and again, a separation between your head and the rest of the body. So as you steer with that head, you're going to provide the power utilizing the chest press. This right here is a really good job with the chest press. Do create that separation again and make sure that the head and the chest are not coming down together. We should have two separate pieces here, head staying right up close to the surface, separation, and then that chest is the only thing pressing down. If you press that chest down, that does pop the hips up, the knees go down, and the feet come up, and that motion follows all the way through. Connecting those pieces gives you that nice butterfly wave motion where you're going to get your power. We do also want to make sure that we have the inverse of that. So as you go into the rest of the stroke, you're going to end up pulling that chest up, which will bring your hips down. Knees will go up and feet will come down, and connecting those pieces gives us the opposite of that, and we end up moving the water in two directions. This creates a continuous kick and a continuous source of power for your butterfly so that as you're going through, you're constantly moving forward. Another focus on trying to make sure that the momentum goes forward is going to be on the arms as they land. That's going to start above the water here as those arms exit and recover over the top. An excellent job with that recovery, arms straight out towards the side, hands just above the water, and the head gets down before the arms come forward. And you want to land in that nice Superman position, hands right on the surface of the water here with those fingertips pointed forward. You are going to go wherever your fingertips point. It's important to make sure that you're landing gently in the water. We don't want to point those fingertips down, lest we come down and immediately have to start to separate to try to catch ourselves from going down. This right here is a good example of that. You can see that as those arms land, the fingertips come down and the hands immediately start to separate out towards the side. Your body is really pressed down here and your head is going to have to come straight up if you're going to take a breath on this next stroke. And as you go through the pull, your pull ends up being a little bit wide. We are farther outside of our shoulders here than we want to be. We want to keep those elbows out towards the side and the hands should be in line with the shoulders just underneath the body. This will give you the most powerful pulling position, and you want to utilize that pulling position underneath your body from the start right up here. So again, watch those hands, make sure you're not separating out towards the side, land gently, pause and hesitate, and as you go into the pull, drive those fingertips down, dig into the water, pulling underneath your body all the way through towards the hips, just like what we see here. And lastly, again, just make sure that you're moving the water in two directions. You should have two kicks per stroke. That kick is going to start up here in the chest is going to go down, and of course we get the opposite of that where the chest comes back up. We should see that motion going in two directions all the way through, and at the end of the stroke we should see the feet going down, pressing into that kick right there, and then we also need to see the inverse and returning those feet towards the surface with the exact same amount of power. Do a really nice job on that kick right there, and the second kick as you're going through the stroke should be the exact same size, forcing the feet down and getting those feet to come right back up with the same amount of power all the way to the surface for continuous motion. Moving on to your backstroke, taking a look at your head position right here, a really nice job with that head position. It is back in the water, and from the top of the water we can see those eyes are looking straight up towards the sky. You do want to keep that head completely still as you go through your swim, and you do a nice job of that here, especially as you're swimming in the outdoor pool. That head position is going to lead the way as you go through your rotation, and in terms of your rotation, we're looking for the shoulders and the hips to turn. We do want to connect those pieces through our core muscles right here, building a bridge and making sure that as you rotate, whether it's left or right, you rotate evenly to both sides and utilizing those two pieces connected. An excellent job again here on that right side. It allows you to reach as far back as you can with that lead arm here. And on the other side, we should see the exact same thing. So turning to face the camera here, the shoulders and the hips should turn together, utilizing that connection with the core muscles to allow you to get that full potential and power out of that stroke on this side. Now, as you go through your rotation, it's going to be quick and continuous. There's no pauses or breaks, and the same is going to go for your kick right here. As you're going through your swim, kick remains continuous and it should stay right up on the top of the water. One key point to notice is your body position here at the end of this stroke. Your feet are sitting down towards the bottom of the pool and your entire body is starting to sink. In order to get those feet to return towards the surface, you really need to utilize those core muscles, keeping them nice and tight. Got to keep that head back and relaxed. And you need to focus on a kick that really starts right here in the hips and travels all the way through towards the feet. The motion for your backstroke kick should be a tiptoeing motion. You're going to tiptoe right up on the surface of the water, trying to get the feet to splash and break the surface. Going through, there's not a lot of splashing going on right here, so definitely need to get those feet up a little bit higher. Now pausing right here above the surface, you can see an excellent job with that body position and that body line. There's that head looking straight up towards the ceiling, and there's that full extension of the arm back behind you. You want to set yourself up for a nice powerful pull, and you're doing that exactly right here, landing with that pinky in. Just be careful to make sure that you're not crossing back behind the body. You do want to land with that hand in line with the shoulder, just as an extension of the body line. Underneath the water, as you set yourself up for the pull on that side, we should see that elbow bend and that hand's going to stay close to the surface of the water. There's a little bit of a delay before that hand gets into the proper position. The sooner you can get into that 90-degree bend with that hand just below the surface, the sooner you're going to get that powerful pull, and you're going to have a much, much stronger pull as you finish off all the way through towards your hips. Finish off that stroke at the completion, making sure you push through towards the hips, just like what we see here. We don't want to push the water straight down. Pushing the water down is going to in turn push us up. We don't want to bounce. It's important to make sure we're moving towards that wall, and again, pushing towards the hips and the feet. On the other side, we'll look for the exact same thing. As that arm comes up over the top, we're going to land back behind us with that pinky in first. Nice job with an extension of your body line here. Keep that head nice and relaxed in the back so those hips don't drop down here. We should see at this point here, your hands start to grab that water and your elbow's going to bend. Remember again, the hand position, we don't want to be underneath the water. We want to be right up close to the surface. We want to get that 90-degree bend, and we want to grab that water in that most powerful catch position. You do a nice job keeping your hand and your forearm together as one piece, and as you finish off that stroke, same kind of thing, make sure you're pushing towards the hips. You can see that this hand ends up sinking down a little bit more, and as that hand goes down, it is going to have to come back up, which is just a slight delay in your stroke and your tempo. On your backstroke, it should be continuous. There are no pauses, hesitations, or breaks. That includes with your kick back here and with your rotation and your arm pull up here. In terms of that kick, again, a nice tiptoeing motion right up on the surface of the water. Think 6 to 8 kicks per stroke cycle. And the only way that you can achieve that is if you do have a small tiptoeing motion, a rubber band around your ankles, right up on the surface of the water, splashing as you go. Moving on to your breaststroke now, an excellent job with the body position here. At the start and end of every stroke, you want to end up in this position. You want those hands side by side, right next to each other, fingertips pointed forward, in a nice streamlined position. This is just an excellent streamlined position. You've got that head hidden behind those hands. That water is going right underneath you and right over the top of you. Very narrow profile to take full advantage of the power that that kick is going to provide in the back. In terms of the positioning on the surface of the water, relatively close to the surface, which should allow for a nice easy stroke and a beginning of the next part of the pull. Good job here as those hands roll out to the side. We want to drive around the corner, driving those fingertips down, keeping those elbows up nice and high. At this point, be careful to make sure that you're not going out too far and outside of your shoulders. If your arms are stuck way out here and your arms are at 90 degrees, you're going to have a harder time utilizing the muscles in your chest and your shoulders. We're most powerful when we're more just outside the body line, just outside the shoulders, and you really want to think about digging in with those fingertips and those forearms here. The more vertical that you can get that forearm, the more power you're going to get to pull yourself forward and also to pull your head and chest up out of the water to breathe. As you go to breathe on your breaststroke, we want to keep the head and the chest coming up out of the water together as one piece. And you do a nice job of that here. You can see those stacked right on top of each other. Relax those shoulders just a little bit, and then keep the eyes right here looking at that water straight in front of you. Now in this position here, you do need to make sure that you are supported underneath the water. It's important to make sure that you have nothing to allow your body to sink or collapse in this point here. So excellent job as far as the pull goes. You can see there's the hands and the elbows coming in. Just be sure to make sure that the elbows also come in front of the chest. Our goal is to make sure that we have something in front of us here to prevent our body from falling forward, and that elbow and hands in front of the chest is going to do exactly that. Another key piece here is going to be the position of your hands. You can see that your hands are starting to come with the palms up at this point here. If the palms are up, there's nothing to support you. We want to make sure that the palms are actually flipped the other way and facing down. That way you have something to press into, so hold on to drive into as your arms are going forward in the recovery. Again, this also serves as a support system. The body is up in this high vertical position. The elbows will be in front here, and the hands will be parallel with the surface, ready to shoot forward into the recovery. Again, from that recovery portion right here, think specifically on the elbows, flip the elbows in front of the chest, and everything will end up right where it's supposed to be right here. Be careful to make sure that the hands don't come up out of the water. Again, here's those palms facing up. We do want the palms to face down. And remember ultimately that the fastest way to get from point A right here to point B is going to be a straight line. In the event that you come up out of the water over and then back down, it's going to take a lot longer and it is going to interfere slightly with your balance. The resistance that you will see versus in the air versus the water from point A to point B is going to be just minimal, and it's going to be faster for you to just go straight through the water here as opposed to going over the top of it and back down. Now you do a nice job here of those hands going forward. The hands shoot forward, they're right up at the surface, and then the head and the chest are going to fall together as one piece to put kind of a second piece of momentum on that body as it goes forward. Now as you go on forward, make sure you're not directing that momentum down. We do want to go straight at the surface, right in parallel with the surface of the water. Head and chest are going to fall together as one. And if your body is up on the surface of the water, your arms are fully extended here, you can actually press your chest down, and you're not going to go down, but it will allow your hips to pop up, and it's going to create a little bit of rotation, the exact same rotation that we saw from our butterfly. That's going to add another bit of momentum to your pull as you're going forward, and it adds a new element to your breaststroke as well. In terms of your breaststroke kick, a very nice job. You can see that your knees are in line with your shoulders here. As those feet come up towards the hips, knees still stay in line. The toes turn out as the widest point right here, and as you snap back around, everything comes neatly into that beautiful streamlined position that we saw before. And last up is freestyle. Freestyle does build on all of the other strokes, and we want to take some of the lessons from those and apply them here. Body position is going to be one of the most important things, and that ultimately does start with your head position here. A really nice job with your head position at this point in the stroke. Eyes are looking straight down, and as you're going to go to breathe, you can see that that deviates ever so slightly. With those eyes coming up, it is going to drop the hips down, and your body's going to balance a little bit differently. In order to keep everything nicely preserved, we do want to keep the eyes down and just a quick snap of the head right towards the side. This is a really good job with the breath, with the ear down nice and low with that downward pressure. That does help keep the body position where it's supposed to be. And in terms of above the water, you can see that your head stays nice and low for a nice quick sneaky breath towards the side. Head returns back to that neutral position, and underneath the water we end up in that nice line again. The components of freestyle rotation are going to be very similar to backstroke. You're going to have your shoulders and your hips turning, connected through those core muscles again. But new in freestyle, your whole body is going to make that rotation and that turn. So we want to see the kick and the feet also make that turn in the same plane. That will allow everything to stay balanced up in the front here with the hands, still allowing you to steer yourself forward and get the maximum power from your pull. Done a nice job with the kick rotating towards the side here. This is a good body position. Head just needs to be in line for this side here. Rotating in the other one, it should be exactly the same. The shoulders and the hips need to turn, and the feet should turn as well. Now you are a little bit off with the leg here, and you can see that the hand is off in the front as well. When you go to breathe, you want to keep that ear down close to the surface of the water, and your balance point as you are here on your side is not going to be on your hand up here in the front. It's actually going to be right here in your armpit. By leaning and putting pressure on your armpit and taking that pressure off of your hand, that's going to allow you to still steer yourself forward, stay balanced as you breathe, and then you can return back to that neutral position, allowing you to take full advantage of a proper kick and a proper pull. You do a nice job of keeping that kick continuous. You can see it does stay steady as you're going through the rotation here. And in terms of the pull itself, this is a really good setup for that first stroke here on the left side. That hand goes over the top, it enters in, fingertips pointed forward. An excellent job with the rotation, and you can see there's a nice full extension of that hand with the rotation. As you go to start your pull, just make sure you utilize that elbow as kind of a hinge, and you think about grabbing water with the forearm with that early vertical forearm. driving those fingertips down to catch the water. Just make sure that that pull is not too far outside of your body line. We want to see the hand sort of just underneath the body in line with the shoulders for that most powerful pull. As you complete that pull, it turns all the way back towards the hips, and you're going to rotate that body to open up and allow the hand to pass. The other side should look exactly the same. Even though you're turning your head to take your breath, we want to make sure we're still allowing for a proper pull and a proper extension with that rotation. This hand looks pretty good here as that hand reaches in, fully extending, driving those fingertips down. And again, just make sure that you're not too far outside of your body line. We want to see that elbow out as the widest point and the hand brought in just ever so slightly so that it's in line with your shoulders, really activating those chest muscles on that pull right from the surface all the way up here, down to where it is underneath your body, and then back through towards the hips. So overall, you've done a very nice job on all 4 of your strokes. You can see how all these pieces are kind of connected with each other, utilizing the one focus of body line and head position to make sure that everything's working together. You should have a nice time bringing everything all together and working on all those aspects. Keep up the good work.